go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of ASCII Anything presented by Moser Consulting. I'm your host, Angel Leon, Moser's Director of Personnel, and we're with you in the end. Yes, this is the end of season 9. And joining me today is producer Brian, because we're going to go through some of our favorite clips of this season. But before we get to that, let's join Brian, who also has a special guest next to him. So, Brian, who do you have next to you?
It is my distinct honor to introduce intern Lillian, who is the assistant producer on this one. She's sitting in. She's going to be interning for the marketing department at Moser this summer. So today is day 2. So we're throwing her into the deep end and we're recording a podcast. So welcome, Lillian.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, nothing says welcome to your internship. Like day 2, you're going to be in front of a camera recording a podcast, a bunch of clips. So, hey, welcome to the fire. That is ASCII Anything.
I'll give you the same spiel I give everybody that's on the podcast. It's a live discussion, but we do edit it, so don't worry.
Exactly. So that's why we also have a very nice blooper reel that we share eternally. Although this year we shared something that Brian took from our reels, ours only. We didn't want to embarrass anybody else. So it was Brian and mostly me, but that's fine because I'm fine with the embarrassment. I'm game for that. That's why I record these things, because of the blooper reel.
If you can't laugh at yourself, you have no business laughing at anybody else or anything else. So
Exactly.
Hold on, Hell, just for posterity's sake, I just want to say, Rory McIlroy, look, I can do it. First try.
You can do it. Yes.
I was like 0 for 9 the last time I went there. That was not happening.
There's going to be another blooper reel later this year. We don't know yet when that's going to come out, but I'm sure it's going to be a doozy. If you saw the last one, go back to our social and you can find it. But today we're going to be talking about some of our great episodes that we have this year. We had plenty. Brian basically chose a lot of these clips because they just provided a lot of good information that came out of those episodes. And really, if you can have the time, do us a solid and go back and listen to all these episodes. I feel like this year we continue to expose a lot of our consultants in what they're doing and just showing their expertise and the things that they know, the knowledge that they bring to their work is phenomenal. I mean, we can probably start from the top, from the very beginning of the year, and just talk about designing dashboards. I mean, that was an awesome episode that we had with our VP of Data and Analytics, Adrian Watts, and one of her senior consultants, Melissa Stephenson. It was phenomenal to see the way that they actually develop those things and what they put forth with the data that they can gather for you. It's amazing.
Some of the key purposes of dashboards really are to help organizations get value out of their data, to provide a tool for insights, and to provide users with access to their data in an easily consumable format. So when we're developing these dashboards, we often discuss topics such as adoption and knowing the audience, and we consider, are we developing the best reports? Do we understand and empathize with the end users or data consumers? And what does the end user want from this data? Is it actionable? What will they do next with this information?
And the depth of my expertise when it comes to dashboards allowed me to pull a Meatloaf quote as the title of the episode. And that's about the depth of my knowledge. So that's the full spectrum of expertise you get here at Moser and at ASCII Anything. I'm here to help people tell their stories. And man, do I like it when I'm talking to somebody who's smarter than me. It's so much fun to learn this stuff.
Me too, because honestly, the breadth of experience I have with it is using them. And sometimes I can't even do that because I click the wrong places. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And from dashboards, we want to go down to one of our favorite topics in AI. Every time we talk about AI, we kind of grow the subject a little bit more. And this year, for lack of a better term, we talked about AI growth, about just the way that AI has grown over the last really 4 or 5 months and the things that we now are able to do that we couldn't do 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. When you look at the evolution of AI and how where we started, and when we were discussing this with Ari, I think it was very interesting that she mentioned that even on early days of smartphones, like we had AI, we just didn't know that we had it. And so now it's transformed the way we do everything with our smartphones. So we had an interesting conversation with Ari.
I made a joke, I don't know, a couple of seasons ago about like I'm really looking forward to like season 25 when AI hosts and talks about itself, then edits the episode and posts it to the internet. all without human intervention. And I don't think it's season 25 anymore. I think it's probably going to be like season 11.
And yeah, pretty soon you're probably going to hear some DeepSeek AI voice of Brian and myself while we're just out here living our best lives, and AI is recording our episodes.
We're on season 12 on Hell and I are just out fishing.
It's not going away. People are going to continually need AI to quicken up their tasks, especially, like I said, the menial things, and save time. And so if we know this is a tool that is only getting better and only growing in its use, the best thing we can do is have a plan and keep building onto it as things change, but have something in mind to start with.
And from AI growth, we went to a topic that's near and dear to my heart, not necessarily because I enjoy talking about this, but because I live with an auditor. We talked about audits with Althea Stevens. Yes, I made a joke. Hopefully my wife's not listening to this, but we had Althea with us and we talked about audits and how important they are really to businesses and to really keep growing as a business and to develop your strategies, etc. Audits are very important. So we had a very nice chat about the process, what to expect during an audit, what not to expect, and what really an audit isn't, and what it is. So it was a very interesting take from her. And again, some of the reliving of my personal professional experiences here with my wife. She works from home, and when she's here, it's that's all I hear all the time.
And without setup, I want to ask Lillian real quick. When you hear the word audit, what do you think? Is the word audit, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
I mean, I don't know too much about audit, but I know that like majority of my friends who are in the business school have auditing internships and they don't really say much about it. So I'm pretty like non-partial about it.
We kind of come at it from the idea that it's a good thing. Like,
Yeah.
Some people have a negative view of audits, and
Right.
Althea covered that quite a bit. But an audit is not just about finding the stuff that's being done wrong.
Right.
A lot of times it's about finding the stuff that you're doing right, and to be able to do even more things that way, or to do them even better than you're already doing them. So it was an interesting episode. It helped me reframe my definition and my attitude towards audits, because the first thing I jump to is tax audit and ew, yikes, help, no. But in the business world, they're actually very useful.
Yeah, they are. And I agree with everything that Althea said, especially about the positive part, which is, to quote my wife, that is what audits are. They're supposed to be positive. They're supposed to actually bring out to light some of those bad things so you can actually correct them before they get to be that bad.
But it's not that you're doing something wrong. It's like, what are we doing right? Where are we possibly going wrong? And how do we course correct? And then when we are doing things right, how do we do it better? And how do we improve upon our efficiencies? How do we deliver more value to our clients and to our customers? How do we provide a better service? That's what to me, that's the intent of an audit, is how do we do better? Not that what we're doing wrong. Even though when we find something, I love to find when we are doing something wrong, because you can fix it, and you can fix it before you get to the wrong. That's what I love about the work that I'm doing. Is like, and again, when I ping people for information or put a meeting on their calendar, there is anxiety because they probably know what I'm coming for.
Yeah.
But it's from a place of positivity and a place of let's make us better. I'm not trying to, nobody's getting in trouble. It's like, oh, I see there's a gap here. Let's close it. Let's fix it.
And up next, we spoke with Derek Spires about effectively managing remote IT projects. And we've spoken in the past about IT projects and being an effective manager, a project manager, if you will. But the pandemic and everything that introduced to the world of business and to the world of IT really threw a wrench at what project managers were doing back then, in that now they had to basically be in this scenario, managing people, managing projects across the globe with no really face-to-face oversight. And that's some of what we talked about with Derek. We talked about a whole lot more, but I think that was another scenario where we showed what Derek and some of our consultants are able to do, even for places that are not located here in Indiana. So I thought that was a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, the way to keep everybody engaged across time zones, across cultures, across the globe, because sometimes you're managing people that are in, other countries.
I am not a coder. I am not a database expert. I know enough that I would be dangerous to any of my projects. So I have to put my trust in those people, and they have to trust me. And that is all built on a foundation of relationship. And so with that, I think, as I mentioned this before, it strikes me, and this is something that I've thought about just recently, that I observe when I consult with other organizations. I've even now reflect on my own performance. We get in these remote settings, and one of the first things we do is drop the behaviors that we typically would have if we were in a face-to-face setting. And what I mean by those behaviors, I mean intentionally seeking out somebody just to check in on them. Right?
Yeah.
Intentionally investing in them as a person. How is their spouse doing? How are their children doing? How is the hobby that they have doing? We kind of drop those things, and it's easy to drop because they're not sitting next to us any longer.
Right.
But it's those things that help you as a project manager identify when someone is getting unengaged or kind of backing away from the team.
So for managing remote IT projects, we went to a topic that was really eye-opening for me. I know I learned a lot from these guys. We had Emma Rosen, Anwar Eaton, and Sandy Nguyen join us to talk about IT accessibility. They do a lot of work when designing a website and making sure that it is accessible for all.
It's always interesting when we're talking to the user experience design team, just the number of factors that people take for granted when you're surfing the internet or visiting a website, using an app. I don't have depth perception issues. So there's things that I don't even think about that could pose serious challenges. Designing for everyone is just a really interesting concept.
Yeah, we even talked a little bit about just how a website adapts to zooming. But if you're somebody who needs glasses to look from near, sometimes when you adjust websites because you want to see something clearer, the website doesn't necessarily adjust for you. It kind of leaves stuff out of the page. So Anwar, Emma, and Sandy were explaining how much that is very important for people who do that, so that they don't lose that user experience that you were mentioning, Brian.
I think it's really interesting the amount of planning that goes into it. And if you plan ahead of time for these things, it's a lot easier to incorporate these design ideas. It's much harder to retrofit them into an existing site than it is to pre-plan and build. It kind of reminds me of a quote from Abraham Lincoln: if you ask me to cut down a tree in 6 hours, I'm going to spend the first 4 sharpening my axe.
If you're selling a digital product, it just needs to be usable by everyone. I mean, I think that's straightforward, and you're cutting down your potential customers by not catering to them. And with temporary disabilities or age or injury, it's so easy to underestimate how many individuals may need accommodation. So you're in turn underestimating the amount of potential customers that are considering your product's accessibility. We want federal agencies' benefits, welfare to be accessible to the people who need it most. But it seems like sometimes the people who need it most are the people who are prevented from accessing it because they're not considered.
One of the things that we offer, like as a company, is we do come in and we do audits and like help people out to like look at their site. But when we say that, we don't just say, here's everything that we found, please fix this, and then you can move on. What we try to do is educate them as well to say, okay, we fixed these things, but you guys are probably going to create a new web page in a day, a month, a year, whatever that might be. And here's the best practices to think about as you're going through it. Here's how we caught this. Here's how we did it. We would love for them to come back at some point, but the thing about like auditing a website, looking at a website, is it's not just like a one and done thing. You want to kind of constantly do it, get another pair of eyes on it, be that internal resource as well. And that just helps it out more and more, because it's like, if you guys check it first and then we check it second, like you guys save money. We're not going to charge you like an arm and a leg going through your site if we're not finding a lot of errors. But if we're finding more, it takes more time, and then it creates more work on your end. But it's like, if you guys are just looking for a second pair of eyes, it helps out a lot.
From IT accessibility, we move on to the mother of the podcast. Melinda Lauder joined us again in this season to talk about automation and leadership, another AI related topic. We were talking about how automation can really help you as a leader. A lot of the things that we talked about, some of the things that I personally do for my team, and how software has allowed us to kind of free us time, which is, I think time is the most important thing we all wish we could have back, whether professionally or personally. And those were some of the best examples that I could think about when we were talking during that episode. It was really interesting to hear her take on how automation and leadership really come together to help leaders continue to evolve during this time of great change.
Yeah, I think if you're having a task that you're repeating weekly, monthly, even 2-3 times, that is a little bit time involved, it would benefit you from figuring out a way to automate those tasks to free you up for more important, thinking time, interpersonal, connecting with your team, making sure everybody's, their workflow, their workload is appropriate. Nobody's dealing with too much stress. Nobody's dealing with too little stress. Everybody's like right in the pocket and doing what they need to do. And if you can free up more of your time to actually manage and interact with your coworkers and with your team by automating some of these processes, it's just a win for everybody.
Automation is about letting something else take an action for you, not make a decision for you. It's about letting something else do the action, the boring action, the action that wastes my time and that isn't thoughtful or thought-provoking or that doesn't take anything. I make the decisions. I can have other things take the actions for me and save my time. I know my marketing team, one of our big things is ask forgiveness, not permission, because, we take a chance on things. You get nothing that you don't ask for. You take a chance on stuff.
Right. We hire people who are capable, and we hire people who are intelligent. And if they have an idea or an intuition, I want them to follow it. And I get that from it trickle. This is a trickle down that actually does work. Melinda sets that tone. I reinforce it as the marketing team manager with our other marketing people to really reinforce that. If you have an idea, let's pursue it. Let's see where it goes. It might go nowhere, but it will definitely go nowhere. Doing nothing, trying nothing. So I was going to tee up the ask forgiveness, not permission, Melinda, but went there anyway. And let's have a moment of silence and deep sympathy for Melinda, who is my boss and has to direct and interact with me on a very regular basis. So pray to the gods of patience that they deliver daily.
You can send your wishes my way.
So from automation and leadership, we go to another set of AI topics. This one a little bit more controversial, I'm going to say. DeepSeek AI, of course, that was the topic brought by Eric McCombs, our Chief Security Officer here at Moser. We basically talked about how this new software kind of took over the landscape of AI there for a couple of weeks, maybe a little bit longer than that, and just made its way to deep US news cycles and everything. And we talked about how it was almost unseating the current AI models that we have here in the US until you discover what it really was behind DeepSeek AI and what it has behind it. So Eric gave us a lot of information on that, and really beyond that, we talked about some very good cybersecurity trends, specifically around AI and what you as an organization, if you're listening to this, what you might want to do in order to put parameters around AI usage within your workforce. So that was a very good episode to listen to.
Yeah, don't just dump company code into an AI bot to let it kind of help you clean it or improve it. You don't, especially if you don't know what it's going to do with it later. That's just a terrible idea.
Right. Yeah, it's bad.
An incident that happened actually for Samsung where developers were using it to fine-tune code. And so they're putting it into a public version of, I think it might have been ChatGPT. I'm trying to remember off of my notes off the top of my head looking into it. But they put their code in. They were fine-tuning, debugging, and doing stuff and getting stuff from their code, working with the AI to fine-tune it. And somebody else at Samsung went in later, was looking and said, wait a second, that looks like that's ours. And it was on the public side where anybody could see their code. and from a security person, the idea of the code being out there, could it be exploited? What other things could, knowing the inner workings, that takes the security to another level as well, where now you're compromising potentially your infrastructure, your applications, your devices. You could be hurting your public credibility, your reputation, corporation. So
yeah, you're also really annoying your security people at that point, because there are so many people out there trying to gain access to your code that shouldn't have it, and then to actually put it like, here, world, have it. We found this cool silver platter to set our code on. Would anyone care to sample it?
From DeepSeek AI, we're moving on to a celebration. Moser Consulting this year is 29 years old. Wow, it's 29 years old. Yeah. I don't know. I was going to make a joke, but I don't feel like making a joke here.
29 is a hard year to make fun of. Like,
yeah, especially with 30 coming next year. It's like, I feel like we're going to hold our applause and jokes for next year. Let's do that. We had a great idea where we had somebody who had been with Moser for a very long time. Somebody who was with Moser, medium size time. I don't know. I don't remember what between.
Yeah, close to 20 years, close to 10 years, and someone who was less than 2 years into their career at Moser. It was nice to get their differing perspectives on the time with the company, just to see that longer timeline and how things have grown and changed. And then a slightly more recent take on the growth and the changes from like the pandemic on. And then someone who has a fairly fresh perspective over the last 2 years as we've ramped up post-pandemic for future growth. So it was a really interesting conversation.
I mean, we could do an edition here for a 2-day take
That's
on.
what I was just, I said, you want to add me in for 2 days?
How's day two? How do you think the company's heading in the right direction?
Sure.
Yeah, things really hit an upswing when they hired me as an intern.
Yeah.
Boom. Rocket ship. Here we go.
Things just got better.
Guys, the limit. Come on, guys. Let's go. Yeah, it was a very interesting episode. Like you said, I love Greg Bell's anecdotes about the early years and how he used to do basically not just sales, which is one of our salespeople, but he was HR, recruiting, and all these other hats that he wore back then. And basically, you combine that with the other two individuals, the one that was sort of like a mid-tier, 10-year with Megan, and then Chris comes in at the tail end, just giving you a fresh perspective on how Moser is right now, and as a younger Moser employee, how he sees that and where he sees the company going. So it was a very good episode. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll get to do one of those again in 29 years. But we'll do the 30th year next year, and it'll be a lot of fun as well.
You can be whatever you want to be here. I mean, certainly you hire into a certain role, but I've seen folks over the last 20 years, morph. And then as you guys know, we have other products, like Brian's shirt there, we have ClearPath. These came from ideas within, the folks in the company. And we've got many other products that have evolved from our folks. So the advice is, there's a lot to do here. We got our first primary role that you're hired into, if you will. But, as you evolve and learn the folks, the family, and all that, you can really do whatever creative juices you have, you can kind of morph into that into our firm. We've created different practices, different departments because of people's ideas. So it's kind of neat from that standpoint. We're still, again, small and nimble, but yeah, we can do stuff and hang with the larger competitors out there. We can go head to head, toe to toe with them as well. So it's a neat environment, from that standpoint.
Moser's culture for me, I guess the broad definition of that would be family first. They really do treat you like that. They care. If you've got things going on or whatever, it's very easy just to go talk to your manager and have that on up the chain to type email if it needs to be, to take a break or to make a change in your schedule or whatever it is, to meet the needs of the people as if there's somebody in your family.
The amount of opportunities Moser has, it seems endless. I mean, if you're motivated, passionate, and committed to working hard, learning, and constantly growing on an individual level, Moser's willing to provide you the steps and the doorways to be able to pursue whatever you want to. So I would say, one, it's a really fast moving environment. It's comfortable. You can go at your own pace, but Moser really does like fast learners and people that can learn on their own as well. Come in with an open mind, It's not like cut and dry. Here's step 1 through 10, and this is what you need to do, whatever. It's pretty open in the sense that here's what you need to do. There's a million ways to get there. Ask if you need some help. All the resources are there. People are there to help you. So as long as you come in motivated and you're willing to learn, it's a great environment.
I would agree with that. I think it's an excellent environment for highly motivated people. We have common goals. You know, we have projects that we're all working on, but a lot of times you are free to chart your own course to success based on the type of learner you are, based on the type of leader you are, based on the type of follower you are. You are free to chart your course at Moser, you know, within certain guidelines, but it's a very free environment as far as I have found. And if you come in, you're motivated, willing to jump in, willing to pitch in, that's always appreciated.
All right, now we're going back to the Cyber Chronicles, this time with Hersey Richardson, who brought us some good information about just what not to do out there, right? I mean, the cyber world is a wonderful world, but it can also be a very dark place. Hersey gave us some good thoughts and some thought-provoking ideas and things to really watch out for as you're navigating the cyber world. So another great episode where it highlights the knowledge of our guys here at Moser Consulting.
Yeah, and just the way our internal security guys set up our training to be more story-based, not just here is a slide, there is information on the slide, here is a multiple choice question, choose one of the answers to prove that you read the slide. The training is a lot more involved. It's a lot more multi-layered. I find that it really helps engage me when I'm going through the training and to help you remember some of the steps and some of the important information that they're doling out. So it's nice for them to make it engaging rather than it's something where you actually kind of look forward to learning rather than like, well, I got to get through this.
It's very good. And I certainly appreciate it too, because as someone who's always taken trainings and things like that, I appreciate when they actually make me not dread what I'm taking, if you know what I mean.
Because you can build the strongest firewall in the world, but one click from an untrained user can open the door. That's why I focus on making security education simple, consistent, and ongoing. Phishing simulation, interactive training, short refreshers, games, those all help. Security is everyone's job now, not just IT. First things first, turn on your multi-factor authentication. At this point, there's no reason to have it off. The last thing you want is for somebody to have authorization to your account and you have the chance to say, hey, no, this is not me. Next, user password managers. This is important. Please stop using easy passwords, ABC123 or 12345. There's no need to be using that in a world where we have password managers. Allow them to set a secure password for you, and then you can go back to it with one password to log in and log into all of your accounts through there. Don't click on links or download files unless you trust the source. Keep your software and devices updated and check email addresses carefully, especially if money is involved. And most importantly, just pause. Think before reacting. That moment of hesitation can save you.
All right. And from Hersey, we move on to what I feel, I don't want to say was, I don't have favorite episodes because I think that's from our standpoint, it's probably unfair, but
we love all our children equally.
Yes, but these guys, they brought it. And I'm talking about the DMAS guys, Brett Canova, Tony Willem, and Brian Woolwine. They gave us a ton of information about data management as a service. So if you're interested in that, go back and listen to that episode. Those guys, first of all, the material is great, but just hearing them together explain everything and their knowledge is actually second to none. It's fantastic.
Yeah, seeing that camaraderie, the way they work together, the way they bounce off each other, it was really fun to take part in that conversation. But then also the times when I wasn't directly interacting, it was just fun to observe.
Yeah, no, me too. I felt like I was the literal fly on the wall, if you will, because I was asking the questions, but really it was just me sitting there like, oh my God, I'm getting so much knowledge on this topic. It's unbelievable. And just like you said, the camaraderie that they have, the way that they work together, you can tell they genuinely enjoy being around each other. I mean, I told you at the end of that, we got to bring those guys back next season for something else because they just killed it.
A big piece of it is so out of the norm for a lot of IT folks, and that it's about communication. It's about emailing, but it's also about phone calls and doing Zoom meetings or Teams meetings. And it's a lot of the stuff that people want to avoid. Like, hey, we need you to do this, go do it. It's best if we, especially in the beginning, if we can meet. The more often we can meet, the more often we just get to know each other. We get to know each other's personalities. We get to know the way each other tick a little bit better. But they also begin to understand that we may not know their data, but we value it just as much as they do. We want to keep it safe and protected, but also, again, make it available so that when somebody runs a report, it's there and ready to go.
Some of your biggest success stories aren't necessarily like the pats on the back that you're going to get. A lot of the times, like some of your biggest success stories are like nobody even had to mention my name all week long because things were just running smoothly. And like, and like as a DBA, you're like, wow, that was a great week. Like that is a success story in itself. That there weren't those blips. There were no kind of performance halts or things grinding to a like a slow area of the day. Sometimes our biggest wins are when you don't even kind of notice we're around. Obviously, the people that we work with day to day and everyone that we have meetings with, they interact with us. People on the floors of warehouses who would never know the difference that, hey, today ran smoothly. I had a great day. I find pride in knowing the fact that sometimes they don't even know why they had a great day. And it was us because we were behind the scenes, keeping things just chugging along.
And with that, we come out to the last clip of this episode with Marcus Reed and Jim McKean, where they talk to us about the Overton window. Another excellent topic, and one that I professed at the beginning of that episode that I really did not know a whole lot about, at least not by name. But once we started talking about the topic, it was kind of easy to get to the point where, oh, okay, I see where you guys are going with this. It was a great episode to listen to. Marcus talk about chemistry. Marcus and Jim, phenomenal. I mean, I feel like we could have their own series of podcasts because they're so knowledgeable as well.
Their chemistry, like you said, I think we don't even need a topic more than like, hey, you guys, you want to come on the podcast and we'll do like a half an hour episode on what? Whatever. You guys could just talk for 30 minutes. It'll be fine.
Marcus could probably give us an episode on the differences in between hot sauces down in Mexico, and it'd be a wonderful episode. We might actually have to do
down
that.
for that. I really feel though that would require a remote fact-finding mission.
I agree.
That would definitely call for at least a host and a producer, possibly an intern.
Fly. Yeah.
Sauces. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you got a passport? We can.
I do.
All right, we're set.
I had to bring it for my first day.
We have a place to stay down there. We just need to go find the sources of the information, and we're good.
We need a hot sauce budget.
I've never been to Mexico, so this is
It's
great.
Mexico City, man. It's not that expensive.
Yeah.
It's very common that clients want new tools to solve a problem that really is a people problem or a culture problem. And that's where the Overton window, even though it was originally applied to politics, comes in extremely useful in information technology and lots of other contexts as well, of course. Basically, you've heard of the boiling water and the frog, right? The water gets hotter and hotter until the frog is boiled. Turns out in real life, that's not how frogs act. They actually jump out when it gets too hot. And so when we bring in these new technologies, new tools, new processes, we use the Overton window as a way to talk about the other important part of IT improvement, modernization, et cetera.
Working with the Overton window inside an organization that you are a part of requires a lot of self-knowledge, self-awareness, right? You need to be able to actually look clearly at what are the acceptable things, not what you want them to be, but what are they really, right? And being able to do that in a culture in which you are embedded is actually really very hard. And one of the reasons why bringing in a consulting group can help with this is that perspective. It's not actually that hard if you're outside an organization to look at what's going on there and begin to spot what those trends are and what those value systems are. You have to have a strategy. You have to understand what your current state is in terms of where the window's at. You have to understand what pieces that would need to change. And then you need to figure out what's the pathway in there. And if you try to change many, many things simultaneously, if you try to go, well, just many things all at the same time, it can be almost impossible to tell where you're at or what you're doing. And you just kind of create some uncertainty that might eventually roll over into actual chaos in your organization because people can't tell what in the world is going on. What's the right thing to do now?
And with that, we come to the end of this episode, and that means we've come to the end of season 9. Brian, Lillian, any lasting words of wisdom before we say goodbye to this season 9?
It was a really fun season. Every season we've recorded, I've had a good time. I've learned a lot. This season was no different.
Lillian, this is your first podcast. Is this your first podcast ever?
Yeah, this is my first podcast. This was a great first one to be a part of. I feel like it was a great introduction to all the other topics that you guys covered. And I feel like now I've got a little bit more of a taste of what goes on here. So second day, I feel like now this was my great first introduction. So I'm happy to be here.
Nice. Not overwhelmed?
No,
Just
not overwhelmed.
Perfectly whelmed?
Perfectly.
Perfectly whelmed.
Perfectly whelmed.
All right. That's what we're going for.
That's what we're aiming for. Yep. Excellent. Yeah. All right. And with that, for Brian, Lillian, I'm Angel Leon. Thank you so much for watching us this season. This is new to us. Of course, this is our first full season on YouTube. So please hit that subscribe button and that like. I don't know. I'm not very good at this. So please bear with me.
We're trying real hard.
Yeah, we're trying so hard. You could tell. But seriously, though, thank you so much for joining us this year. It has been a blast to record these episodes for you, our listeners and our viewers. We hope to see you some point in maybe early or late August. We don't know the time or date yet, but you will sure hear from ASCII Anything through the Moser Consulting social media accounts. So thank you so much again. It was a pleasure. So long, everybody. Until then, happy St. Patty's Day. So long, everybody.